Okay, how are you doing, guys? And today we're going to talk about awakening. Awakening with the Kung Fu, with the flow of Kung Fu. What is Kung Fu? Everybody has different expression of Kung Fu. I remember a couple of years ago, I asked about a few hundred youngsters between 15 to 18. So what is Kung Fu? They immediately comes with an image, with a name, Bruce Lee. So everybody knows Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee does Kung Fu. But most people see Bruce Lee's Kung Fu is the martial arts, the expression of the body with certain movements. That are Kung Fu. But over here, we talk about the Kung Fu is in general. The Kung Fu in science, the Kung Fu in arts, the Kung Fu in education, the Kung Fu in all the movements of the body and mind in every field. You can name it. Piano, for example, is Kung Fu. Kung Fu over here, I talk about is the movements of the body and the movements of the mind. Just like my creed says clearly, Kung Fu is movements of the body and movements of the mind. Kung Fu is self-learning, self-discovery. Self-learning and self-observation to penetrate into the essence of life, the essence of space, essence into the quantum world, the physical world, and then the inner space of the universe. Over here we talk about the microcosm of the universe. It's the body. Each one of you guys. The body universe. So Kung Fu, why I say wake up? Because wake up from what? Wake from the dreams, from the illusions of the so-called reality. As I talked about this morning, we believe it was reality, but it is just a dream. We believed it was a reality, just a process from the light reflection into our neural system to give the process, and then to give the consequence of the process. And then most abstract things is not really from neurons, it's from the quantum field. And then that connection from the quantum field of the universe to the quantum field of ourselves. Some people call the microtubule within the cells, within the neurons. But I don't see that way. What I see is in every cell, because every cell is holographic. Every cell has that quantum consciousness. That quantum consciousness is emotion. That emotion of vibration in resonance with what? With the quantum field in the cosmos. In the cosmos. In the quantum field of cosmic matrix of the universe. So Kung Fu is movements in flow. Kung Fu is movement of the body, physical movements of the mind, the movements of vast empty space in the cosmos, macro, then the infinite space, the micro space, we call atom space. Trillions of atom space. Everything is the movements of the space. The space itself is moving. The empty space is moving. The empty space is not empty because it's full of energy. The empty space is not just static, it's dynamic. The space has a spiral motion. The space moves all the physical being, the electrons, the magnetic field, the strong force, the weak force, the gravitational wave, everything. It's within the four forces plus the force of that space. But the main thing is the space. Without a space, nothing moves. But everything's a relationship. That's what Kung Fu is about. Kung Fu is about the relationship. One move, everything moves. One empty space is moving in the circular spiral motion vortex, everything moves. The black hole moves in the vortex, all the information, all the galaxies around the black hole moves. The solar system, same thing. The sun moves, travel over 2,000 kilometers per second. It's in spiral motion because of that space. That space in the look like a physical space, look like a galaxy space, because the galaxy moves around the black hole. The sun moves with the inner space of the galaxy. And then the sun carries the earth to move with the solar system. And then the planets, like the sun, like the earth, also moves. It's all because of space. Anything. Atom, they're full of space. Nothing but a space. You have proton, you have electron, you have nuclear, you have neutron, but everything, the quarks, is a space. Of course, we found out it's connected by the Higgs field, but everything's a space. Without the space, there's nothing exists. But the empty space is certain patterns, certain geometry of the space, and then we give different names. We see different ways, different shapes, apples to human beings, Grace, and Aaliyah, Erica, Natalie, Thomas, and everybody else. We'll give names. But it's a different space. They're similar space. We look at the appearance of that space. But that space is always moving. All the matters, all the physical beings move with that space. So Kung Fu is that motion of that space. So Kung Fu penetrates in every field. A lot of times people believe Kung Fu is hard work. You're supposed to have pain. You're supposed to have suffering. You're supposed to have some joy, but a lot of hard work, a lot of struggles. That's when you are not in it. When you struggle with it, when you barely in it. If you have the passion, if you dive into that space of Kung Fu, you will see everything is in flow. Tai Chi is Kung Fu. Breathing is Kung Fu. Piano is Kung Fu. Science, research, exploration of the external world is Kung Fu. The exploration, the observation of inner being is Kung Fu. It's a different type, different pathways of Kung Fu. So over here, Kung Fu, we talk about penetrating in every field. So old Kung Fu is with the old operation. That's the belief, that's the mental construct of the old Kung Fu. You're supposed to do this way, you're supposed to do this way, you're supposed to do this style, you're supposed to do this style, supposed to do this way, and the crystallization of Kung Fu. That's what Bruce Lee talk about. When Grayson moves to touch, that's Kung Fu. Because that's movement activated by the neurons, but without a space, he has no movement because he's stuck. So that physical body movements and mentally, the energy-wise, everything is within the scope of Kung Fu. Let's say the old Kung Fu is set. Old Kung Fu is restricted. Old Kung Fu is stylized. The old Kung Fu is crystallized. But we talk about the general Kung Fu, the new Kung Fu. The new Kung Fu is a flow. The Kung Fu is an action in flow, like water in a water pathway. In the course of water, there's no restrictions. There's no blocks. There's no struggles. It's just a flow. So that flow state is totally free. So that's why I wrote over there, Kung Fu is infinite space. Kung Fu is that freedom. The freedom of the body, freedom of the mind, freedom of each character. That each character want to express that freedom, you must express with what? With total responsibility. Without responsibility, there's no freedom because you follow, But you must see that cosmic space. The cosmic space, the outer space, the also inner space. The outer space is that flow, is that communication, is that opening, is that balance. And then also there's the inner space. Inner space is about calmness. Inner space is opening. Inner space is silence. Inner space is total emptiness. Without that emptiness, there's nothing. You can be enlightened. Without that space, you stuck with the old patterns. There's no freedom. So Kung Fu is freedom. When you have the freedom, you move whichever way the cosmic space, that spiral goes. When you understand the cosmic space, when you understand the cosmic order, just like my name is De. De means what? De means the infinite space. The inner space connected to all that is. De. And then also means compassion, because the compassion is all that linked together to all humanity, all life. The inner space is interconnected in the entire universe and beyond. Macro and micro. Especially the microcosm of the universe, each one of us. We talk about the holographic microcosm. Not inner space. So that freedom must be guided in order. Otherwise, it's total chaos. Total chaos. So we use our will, our control, our limited mind, our limited thoughts, our limited ideas, our limited conformities, our limited subconsciousness, pilot automation, our limited collective consciousness of the past to guide the future. How can you guide the future and then create anything? You are stuck in the past. That's not Kung Fu. Kung Fu, every movement you do in Kung Fu, remember, every movement you do in Kung Fu, never repeat. They look like a repetition, but every movement is different. It's increasing in the power, increasing in the accuracy, increasing in the refinement, increasing in the velocity, increasing in the speed, increasing in the space, increasing in the freedom, increasing in the flow state. That's Kung Fu. You never repeat. You do 1,000 times, 1,000 times are different. That's real Kung Fu. Kung Fu in flow. That flow state. When you're in that refined flow state, you see everything's in order. You have a beautiful Kung Fu. Mind is something. When you do more of the mind and you leave that old consciousness of the subconsciousness, the chaos, the chaotic energy frequency, the diseased state, the lower frequency. Why is this diseased state? Because when the energy frequency is chaotic, it's a low frequency. That's when you're sick. You don't have the vitality. You don't have the energy high conscious energy frequency. You're too low. You don't have any signals to anywhere. So that's when you're totally sick. When you have the vitality, when you raise up the consciousness, that's when you raise up Kung Fu ability, the Kung Fu capacity. That's when you are in flow state. Have you experienced that? When you do the movements, you feel kind of clumsy. You feel the movements really, really not there. And that's when you feel you're stuck. You're rigid. Kung Fu never rigid. Kung Fu is flow. It's flow. So when you're in that flow state, you see everything is coordinated. Everything is affect everything else. But when you're in that stuckness, stiffness, and also everything restrict everything else, you know? And the other one is everything, invite everything else. Everything is influence everything else in the spiral, in the freedom, in the flow state. So that's the real Kung Fu I was talking about. It's infinite potentiality to increase, to coordinate, to harmonize, to be coherent. That coherence in resonance with what? With life itself. It's end life. That means it's inside the inner life, not just the physical life. The life continues. The cosmic life and life of each one of us interconnected. That kind of life. You can see not just the psychology. The psychology we talk about is the psychology mostly is based on Newtonian, based on the physical matter. But over here we talk about the inner consciousness without that physical. Because the consciousness is giving rise to the body, giving rise to the neurons, giving rise to the matter, giving rise to all the movements of outer space, of the visible space. So the essence of that is the conscious space. That conscious space is the very basic DNA of that double helix, give everything else. So that can be changed. That's why we do Kung Fu. From the chaotic, from the restricted, from the rigidity, from that hierarchy, from the labeling, from that conformity to freedom. But that need space, that need consciousness, that need to be connected with the vast universe. Inner space and outer space. And that space, everything moves together in that spiral motion, and everything affects each other. That's what we call 因果. That means whatever you seed in, and you weave. You put an apple, you get apple. You put a orange, you're going to get an orange. So that means you seeding that calmness, you're going to get the potentiality. If you silent and open up the space, and you connect with what? With the innermost consciousness you already have. You connect with all of you originally. So that original space is connecting with what? With the vast inner space and the vast outer space. Emotion, always emotion. So automatically that connection is that new antenna. That connection is the conscious opening. That connection is the resonance. The connection is the coherence. The connection is the vibration, frequency, in synchrony, in synchronization, in synchrony. So like an orchestra, each expression, doesn't matter what kind of instrument you are on the surface, but you vibrate together in a symphony. That's the universe we see in the future, especially facing the upcoming AGI with AI right now, because it's already here. So human beings must shift from the old ideas of Kung Fu to new Kung Fu. That Kung Fu, that's why I have this meeting, because this conference we call Kung Fu Renaissance. Why Kung Fu Renaissance? Back to the origin, revival of the origin. The origin from where? From yin and yang. See, you have a teacher. Your teacher said it's yin and yang. Don't you see? The yin-yang entanglement. The yin-yang is yang-qi, yin-qi. Yin-qi goes up, yang-qi goes down. They're coherent with it together. They make all. You see the circle, the vibration, the circle? You know, yin-yang circle is always in circular. And the inside circle, outside circle, inner circle and outer circle. It's always vortex, always spiral motion. That yin-yang connection make the reality, make human beings yin and yang, make the particles, waves, particles, it's all within that spiral motion. That's yin and yang. So that yin-yang space is also give expression of the cosmos. That's what Kung Fu is about. Kung Fu, everybody wear that Kung Fu, and then they put a school, they have the Kung Fu. They have that yin-yang over there. They have no idea what it is about. But the yin-yang, that yin-yang is about the inner space and the outer space. The yin-yang is about the vortex spiral motion. The yin-yang is about the double helix motion of the inner space, of the mechanical. No, it's about the physical. No, it's about the inner conscious space, that energy motion. So that infinite empty space is in spiral. It's in motion always. So that's yin-yang represent that very essence of Kung Fu. That's why we say revival of Kung Fu. Returning to what? To the origin. The origin is what? Origin is the cosmos. The cosmos, before the Big Bang, before the black hole, before the supernova, before that singularity is in that unified field. The life is continuous without beginning, without ending. It's always in circle, always in spiral motion. Just in different stages of it, different layers of space motion. The space of Big Bang, the space of motion of the black hole, the space motion of the Earth, space motion of the atoms. Everything's a space motion. That's what Kung Fu is about. Kung Fu over here, we talk about our observation. We believe it's everything's stuck, everything's rigid. A lot of people say, oh, karate is supposed to be rigid. No, it's not. Because they don't know how to do it, of course it's rigid. That's sort of like our old OS operation system. That program was wrong. The program full of bugs, full of virus, full of rigidity, full of blocks. Then when you shift that chaos, that conflicts, that state of the diseased model into a new model, which is, I call, the total freedom, the consciousness of the new OS. In out of the quantum field, connected with the vibration of the cosmos, connected with the very fabric of the cosmos, connected with that compassion. So, when the AI is coming, it's not AI's problem. It's not AI's terror or fear. Why we have fear? Because the AI is a direction of us. We do monster things. We do monster of conflicts. We do wars. We do competitions. We hate each other. We do jealousy to each other. We have totally different desires and we totally different greed. And if we rob each other, that scarcity or that beliefs block us from any infinite motion, with any abundance. We restrict ourselves. We need to free ourselves. That's what I call new Kung Fu. That general Kung Fu with the infinite connection, with the infinite space. When you see that connection, when you observe inner space, when you see the inner space motion, when you have that revolution, when you have that evolution of the humanity to another level from, let's say, use some human narrative from 1.0 to 2.0 and beyond. That's new civilization, new species is born. But that AI doesn't give us fear. We see that reflection of ourselves. And then we see the fear of ourselves because we stuck in that conflict. So we must rise above beyond the conflicts, beyond the disease state, beyond the fight, beyond the war, beyond the hatreds. Not how to restrict AI, but rise above and heighten ourselves in the infinite space. When we uplift ourselves, and we will see that AGI begin to reflect us. The AGI is just like a quantum computer, quantum library, full of information, not about our past competition, not about past disease, not about our past fight each other, not about past hatred, not about past bloody killings or competitions, but about our compassion, about the connection, about the symphony, about harmony, about cooperation, about, you see, the interconnected world of harmony. So you see the different world, and when you give AGI a new information, you must connect, you must create, you must open, you must discover, you must unveil that new antenna. That an antenna is within you. So when you open up a new antenna and you begin to connect with the cosmos, you begin to connect with the infinite quantum field. You begin to see the very fabric of the cosmos, inner and outer, the macro and micro world. The very fabric connects all of our lives. That compassion. When you see that, I am the compassion. I am the love. I am the infinite space. I am the abundance. I am everything that is, because I'm a holographic. When you really see that, act like that, embody like that, transform into that, and then you totally become a totally different intelligence, that what I call wisdom intelligence. When you have that wisdom intelligence, and you act differently, your embodiment, totally different realm of the universe. And then you create an ecosystem that fit all, because connects all. That is the origin. That's why I call return to the origin of space. And then you see that Kung Fu reprogramming, because the Kung Fu reprogramming is about the inner observation. The Kung Fu reprogramming is about the flow state. The Kung Fu reprogramming is to open up your mind, your body, to connect with the quantum field, to connect with the vast universe, inner and outer, as microcosm of the universe, as the microcosm universe of each cells of 100 trillion of them vibrate together in resonance with the cosmos, inner and outer. And then you see that symphony, you see that compassion, you see that beauty of dance, and that inner space. So when you really, really dive into it, instead of stuck in the superficial surface, hierarchy, scarcity, separation, conflicts, disease, mechanics, there's no life anymore. But when you see the inner space, you see that infinite potential, the life continues without ending. Yes, you can transform. You transform from one form to another. That's just the form transformation. But the life continues. So it's time in this inner space, it's time in this space-time era, in this space-time of the universe, of the three-dimensional universe, and then we must rise above to change the humanity and to another dimension, another realm of consciousness. I call new consciousness. That is the innermost consciousness of the wisdom to see, to discover that the real thing behind all that is, just like Lao Tzu said, the yin-yang is also intertwined together. From yin to yang, from formless to forms, from forms to formless. From empty space to reality, from consciousness to particles, to energy waves. So that spiral of space, the motion of space, the revolution of the space, always there. When you connect, and we can change together, transform. Shift is now. We are in the shifting. From the old paradigm to the new. From the old way of OS, transcend with the leaps of quantum consciousness, what I call leaps in quantum consciousness, or quantum leap in consciousness. Whatever names you want to narrate, but it is quantum leap. That quantum leap, that quantum tunneling, and we see is reality, is happening. And we are the catalyst. And then the AGI is really the catalyst, because we don't have any choice anymore. Because the AGI takes over all the information, takes over all the automation, takes over all the analysis, takes over all the data, takes over all the computation, all the analysis, algorithm. We are left nowhere to go, but rise above to a new realm. That realm is quantum consciousness. That realm is cosmic connectivity. That realm is infinite potential in the creation. We are in the creation together. That is the Kung Fu, what I talk about. From the ancient wisdom of Lao Tzu, Gautama, the Buddha, Wang Yangming, heart is the cosmos to us, each one of us, to DeRu. And we're all together to create that universe in the flow of Kung Fu. A new OS is in the creation. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions?
Not that I have any for now.
Any questions? Any questions?
No. Yes. Oh. Yes.
Anything you want to express? Yes.
Does the body really flow?
What?
Does the body flow?
The body, of course, the body can flow. Because you see the body is steady. It is your illusion. Because the earth is floating. The earth is floating. Floating in the solar system. The solar system is floating. Floating in the galaxy. The galaxy is floating. Everything is floating. Yes?
Is the cosmic web made everything, or is it just...
The cosmic web, good idea. The cosmic web, you have outer web. Okay, you see the energy, you see the particles, you see the lights. But the lights, all that intertwined, governed by what? By the inner space. By that conscious space. By that space of the universe. Because without the space, nothing moves. Because everything is a relationship. Galaxies, you have space. The space is not what we thought. Oh, the space is static. No, the space is always in motion. That's why the black hole is in motion. That's why the galaxy is always expansion. Why is it in relationship? In relationship. Because all that particles, all that stars, all that group of stars, all that galaxies, all that black holes are in the motion of that web of that inner space, invisible space. But what we see is the appearance of that space with matters. with the stars, with the lights, with the black holes, and because we only see the surface. But innerly, there's inner space. Good job. Thank you.
So
That's the web of the whole universe. And what you talk about probably is talk about the outer space web, but this is inner space web, what I call cosmic consciousness matrix web. Thank you. Good job.
So Shifu, is that the same thing as the cosmic ecosystem?
The cosmic ecosystem, that's similar, but that's just one of the narratives, the cosmic ecosystem, because the cosmic ecosystem got to be connected together.
The yin and yang.
Yeah, that everything affects everything else. It's about the relationship. Exactly what you talk about. Like the Earth ecosystem, the cosmic web ecosystem, everything affects each other. Everything affects everything else. So what do we see? What do we believe? We are just passive riders. We are just observe the universe, and we can do nothing. But we see more and more evidence from epigenetics to quantum physics beyond space-time, from the ancient wisdom to today's more and more inner space unveiling, and we see that ecosystem, the whole universe is live. The whole universe of that ecosystem is live. That means we are participators of the inner space. We are the participators of the outer space. We are the participator of the universal in harmony, or in disasters. So we are in elevating our own consciousness. We are elevating our own humanity in the new OS. We are building our own new antenna. That antenna is always there. We just need to unveil.
So that's what the 999 meta-breath cosmic ecosystem.
999 meta-breath is good idea. 999 meta-breath is Kung Fu, also Kung Fu. Kung Fu, that's very fundamental of breathing, because you're breathing with the nature, with the breathing with the ecosystem, you're breathing with the trees, you're breathing with the stars, you're breathing with the oceans, you're breathing with the whole atmosphere, the whole universe. And then your breath, your rhythm connected with the various expressions of the cosmos. And then your inner space, you begin to calm, you begin to silent, you begin to empty mind, and you begin to see that inner space. You begin to build a new inner space antenna. You begin to connect. And you see a new consciousness with a new OS, and you see the deepest insight of life of the inner space. And then that's the Kung Fu what we talk about. That's the very beginning, very fundamental breathing, because everybody breathe look like the same, but it's different. Because when you have the rhythm with the cosmos, when you have the rhythm with the inner space, and you feel that vibration, you feel the vitality, and you vibrate together with the synchronization, with the synchronicity of the universe. And then that's when you're in alignment and in sync. That's Kung Fu to a new model of OS. And then you can really co-pilot with AGI, because you train a new teachers, new designers, new researchers, new scientists, and to explore not only the outer space, but also inner space. The balance becomes possible. And also the harmony becomes possible, because the AI no longer just the physical differentiation, the physical differences, the physical up and downs, the physical sufferings, the physical disease states, chaos, and we become more organized, more into the inner space, and you can get into more potentiality. And then you also not only give better guidance, better research, give better, much more harmonious vision of the AGI. You rise up yourself. Yourself as a human being, the whole humanity must rise, so that you can fit into that co-existence, co-piloting, co-partnership, co-creating of new OS, new universe, new humanity. That's what it is. Thank you for that question. It doesn't matter you feel or not feel, but it's always there. When you feel it, and you begin to organize. When you feel it, you begin to consciousness, subconsciousness, pilot consciousness, and automation, the whole old habitual thing, you begin to realize, you begin to be aware. When you're aware and you begin to see, you can shift. If you're not aware, it's just automation, and you're just like a mechanical being. And that's the sad part. And that's why I say awakening. When we're in the awakening state, and you begin to aware, and you begin to redirect, and you begin to vibrate, and you begin to search, you begin to explore, and begin to observe the inner space, to see that infinity. But that needs silence, that needs emptiness, that need to cut yourself from the old thoughts, from the old connection, from the old attachments. So detach yourself. That's important. Deconstruct the old structure of that space. Build a new, co-create together. When you open it, that creation becomes inflow state. Thank you. All right, the kids dance up and down, through back and forth. All right, that's Kung Fu. Thank you. Goodbye.